talking about sampling methods. And the reason we talked about sampling methods was to go ahead and get an idea of how biodiverse a particular area was. Another way we would use sampling methods is to try and estimate what the size of a population is in an ecosystem. So let's suppose, for example, that we had an endangered species and we want to find out exactly how many of them were still in the population and keep track of them to see if we could take them off the endangered list. Well, a classic way to go ahead and do this is what we call capture, mark, release, and recapture. And the basic idea is that, let's suppose we have some animal who might be endangered. We go ahead and capture as many as we can. I think I've got this word misspelt here already, don't I? Let's correct that word. Capture as many individuals as possible in a population area. And then we go ahead and do some sort of marking. We could paint the back of them, or they could tag them like they do with birds, or sometimes they'll catch fish and they'll put little markings on their fins. Then you go ahead and release them, and we hope that they mix back in the population. You wait a little while, and then you go ahead and you recapture them, and you check for how many of them have the markings. And that would give you an idea of what the population was. So, well, let's just look at the extreme. Suppose I caught 100 of them, right? And I marked them and I released them back into the population, and I caught another 100 and every one of them had the same marking on it. Well, I'd assume either I got incredibly lucky or there's probably only 100 of them. But if you wanted to do an exact count with this capture, mark, release, recapture system, it would be the Lincoln Index. And this is a mathematical method to estimate what the size of a population is. We'll call the population capital N. And what you do is you first of all capture and mark as many as you can. We're going to call that N1. Then you go ahead, let them mix up in the population, recapture some. And it doesn't matter exactly how many you recapture. You could recapture a different number if you wanted to. And that's N2. And then we go ahead and we go ahead with this one here, and we check of the ones that we captured, N2, how many of them then had our markings on it. And that goes into this very simple equation, and that gives us an estimation of the population size. So let's go ahead and do an example here. If you look on the next screen here, let's suppose that a biologist wants to estimate the population of turtles in a lake. And she captures 10 turtles on her first visit to the lake, and she goes ahead and decides to mark them with some paint on their backs, and she releases them back into the lake. And a week later, she returns to the lake, and she captures this time 15 turtles. And of those 15 turtles, 5 of them have paint on their backs. Okay? So let's go ahead and look at that equation one more time. N1 times N2 divided by N3. So let's go ahead and do it. And how about blue? Fine. So the size of a population equals N1 times N2 divided by N3. Oops, N3 like so. Okay. And who are those numbers? Ooh, let's not use happy face. Let's go ahead and use green. That's good. So we first went to the lake and we captured 10 turtles, right? And we marked them. Okay. And then we went back there and we recaptured, let's see, how many turtles did she recapture? She recaptured 15. And of those 15, right, only 5, so 1/3 of them, right? Whoops, that's not 5. So 5 of them had markings, okay? So what is our population? Let's see. 10 times 15 is 150. And divided by 5 gives us a rough estimate that in that lake, the estimated population is 30 turtles. And you can see that it doesn't matter what numbers you're doing, but obviously the bigger the numbers you capture, the more accurate your methods would be.